We are coming to you live from Westerly, Rhode Island's office of Randall Realtors. We invite you to spend a little time as we share our insights and experiences, tips and tactics acquired over quite a few years. Our goal? Help you become a better buyer and a skilled seller.
We're officially in the new year, and times change, hopefully. That was a joke, and it was funny when I wrote it. We're working on the technology tonight, so I'll ask that you bear with us. But what we're doing here is simply a reflection of the changing times. Real estate is the same, people are the same, but how we reach out, that's the thing that's been changing, and all good agents will educate the buyers. All good buyers will go looking for information. You know, we talk about YouTube and other resources, tons of resources out there for it. So rather than compete with 30, 45-minute seminars and how-tos, we thought, let's do 20 minutes. How hard can that be? We're finding that out. If you see me look down at my leg, we're trying a scrolling technique out of view of camera, and I know I'm talking about the technique, and Denise doesn't like it when I talk about what it is we're doing. But we do have 20 minutes coming up, so we'll let you sit back and listen, or our preferred mode would be, if you have a question, chat, raise your hand, however it is that you can reach in and signal us. The idea is we have a topic, but if you've got a better topic, we'll go with that.
There's a comment box down here on Facebook, so if you have any comments, please, we like this to be interactive. Go ahead and put them in there. If you'd like to suggest some topics for us to reach out to you in the future, we'd be happy to do that. But in the meantime, this week we are going to be talking about, I love it, I want to make an offer. But before we get to that, please follow the Coastal New England Real Estate Team on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. On YouTube, you can find all of our past briefings, and if you subscribe, you'll get to be updated every time we have them there. So it's only 20 minutes. We touch a little bit every week on something different. So if you're interested in seeing what we've already done, check us out on YouTube, like us, share us, do all those things, as well as Instagram, Facebook. If you have any questions, like Clark said, put it in the comment box and we will try to get them to you. Our email address, if you need to send us a message, is coastalnere@gmail.com. And I am going to sneak over and type that into the comment box so you have it when Clark is talking.
Which is starting now. Yes, we would like you to, if you feel like hijacking today's topic, by all means. We'll build it around, here we've got the offer phase of buying a house. So I've said before earlier that we will always be talking about real estate. Sometimes we're talking directly to buyers, other times sellers.
Up.
And, am I having to scroll? You may see a signal from Denise, very subtle like that last one, which is to scroll up and to our topics. This is the whole point, finding the house that you want to make an offer on.
Right.
That's about as much fun as you can get.
That is the fun part. Though in this current market, you have to be ready. It's very, very busy. So some of the things that you need to make an offer that we're going to talk about. Different agents use different forms to make offers, but basically you need to provide the seller with some basic facts. So right off the bat, in another briefing, we talked about pre-qualification and pre-approval letters. That is number one thing you're going to need if you're going to present an offer. That shows the seller, that you are able to buy the house.
Yeah.
If you're going to pay cash, then you need to provide proof of funds. So that's number one. And you want it to be specific to the offer you're making.
Yeah.
So when you get a pre-qual, when you start looking for houses, then you're going to contact your lender when you're ready to make an offer and ask them to update it just for that particular house.
And they'll be happy to do that because they're in the service business as well. The other thing about pre-quals, you get one from the person who you like and have asked to provide it. That doesn't lock you into the financing end of the process.
No, it does not.
You can still shop around once you have a contract. or you need this tool, and this is all the, we are assuming you got ready, or you're ready at this point that you have an offer.
Right.
Now you just have to fill in the blanks.
Exactly. So the other thing that's on there that's very important for the seller to know is, how are you going to pay for this? Financing or cash? So obviously you already know how you're going to pay for it, because you've either got pre-qualified or you have the cash. But the lender wants to know what type of mortgage you're going to get. If it's FHA,
Yep.
if it's a VA, if it's USDA, or if you're going to be doing a traditional mortgage. That is important to them, because
Well,
that can make a difference.
And this is the prep work that they're doing even well before we got to this point of finding a house they fell in love with, which is spend the time with the lender, find the program that's best for them. I mean, lenders have all sorts of things, but it's all about what works best for you, the buyer.
Right, and again, a lot of these things we've either already discussed in a briefing or will be having another briefing about. You also are going to have to, they're going to want to know how much you're going to put down as a deposit. So in the case of well, first of all, earnest money deposit. That is required with an offer. So there has to be some kind of consideration.
Yeah.
Can be a chicken. No, really,
She
people
says
don't like that.
That's, I'm kind of,
But in the old days, that's what people used. They said, all right, you can hold my chicken till I buy your house, and then you give it back to me and I'll give you the money. So it can be anything of value, but we
Really?
like to see checks.
how do you get the chicken to stick to the agreement?
I don't know, but they did.
Okay.
So then the other amount of we ask is about a second deposit. How much is your second, if your offer gets accepted, how much more money are you willing to pay? And that fluctuates with every offer. That is not, if you're getting a traditional deposit, traditional mortgage, that's not necessarily 20%. Actually, I would advise my clients to never give a 20% deposit to the seller's agent to hold. I would advise give a smaller deposit, and then at closing you give the rest of the money.
And what will happen is when it comes to the earnest money, your agent will talk about that, because am I supposed
Keep
to
going.
scroll up?
Yeah.
Okay. Your agent will talk about that, because the idea is you do need to provide consideration in a way that convinces the seller to entertain your offer.
Mm-hmm.
Do I get to say the cool thing about offers?
Sure, go right ahead.
Oh, I forgot to say this earlier, since we're talking about offers, so you're all psyched up. And we'll talk about the different formats. Denise just referred to that, is that some agents will use a one-page form. A lot of agents, personally, I like to go the whole sales agreement because it's detailed.
Me too.
But what I do tell people when we're ready to submit the offer is hey, when we send this in, the only thing the seller can do is accept your offer. It's kind of a leading statement, because the idea is you spelled out under what terms and conditions you will buy that house. If they want to change anything, which is what negotiations are about, that will become a new offer back to you. You don't have to do it. They can't change your offer, in other words. They can only respond to your offer.
Correct.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah. So basically they can accept it, or they can attempt to renegotiate by making a counteroffer.
Or they could totally reject it too.
Or they could totally reject it. So then the other thing that you are entitled to as a buyer are inspections.
Yep.
Now, in Rhode Island, you get a 10 business day right of inspection from the date the contract is signed. In Connecticut, you get to choose how much time you have, and typically, you want to be reasonable to the seller, because you want the seller to pick your offer. So it's about 14 days that we use, but that can be
for the closing?
For the inspection period.
Oh, for the inspections.
For the inspection period.
Yeah.
Closing dates are another thing we're going to get to next, but your inspections, you absolutely want to have them. In this current market, there are people waiving inspections. If you really, really love the house and you're a contractor, or you have some knowledge about how houses work, maybe you want to waive the inspections, but at the very least, I think you should have them, even if you say to the seller, I will have them only for my information purposes. Because you can still get out of a deal if there's something in those inspections that are a deal breaker for you. So, you can't see what's in the septic system. You can't see what's behind the panel of the electric meter. You know, if it's
You know,
a tall building, you may not see the roof.
and some people will say, well, geez, Clark, if I ask for inspections, is that going to decrease my chances with the seller? I kind of go with well, what does that tell you about the seller if they said no? Because who wouldn't find that a reasonable thing to inspect the property?
And any good agent who's working with a seller is going to prepare them, going to walk around the house, look for the things they think might show up in an inspection, and advise them on those as well. So,
Yeah, unless you have a titanium-lined stomach, you're not going to pass on the inspections.
no, I don't think so. I don't think you know, it's not a good idea unless you're, you know, I don't know, unless you know it's a tear down and you're willing to deal with that. Or you're already planning on gutting the house anyway, so what difference does the inspections make? That said, certain mortgages are going to require certain inspections. So if you have an FHA mortgage and you say, I don't care about the inspections, FHA is going to tell you you have to have a pest inspection and you have to have a regular inspection.
Yeah. So a reasonable thing, and in practice, it's still a reasonable thing. You do what, this is back to the idea of this offer is, hey, Mr. Seller, this is under what terms and conditions I'm willing to give you X number of dollars. And that's separate from the seller.
Yeah.
You go in with your plan of buying the house and the standards you need. You go with that. If they want to say, no, I won't do it because they won't say it's unreasonable.
Right. I have had sellers who, especially like in an estate sale, who have said inspections are for information purposes only.
Yeah.
They don't know anything about the house, you know, mom and dad owned it or grandma and grandpa owned it, and they really don't know anything about the house, and they don't want to be responsible for repairing something that may have been neglected for over time. So they may say that. That does not mean when you have your inspections that you cannot walk away from the deal if there's a deal breaker in there for you.
No, even the foreclosures. I work in the foreclosure space in real estate in this area, and people will ask that in the same circumstance as well. Will that decrease the perceived value of my offer if I ask inspection? No, it's built in. It's an expectation. It's a reasonable thing to do. So a bank in that won't say, well, I would have taken it if you didn't want to inspect it.
Also, at this point, you should have been provided with seller disclosures.
Except
Hopefully,
except for the banks, they don't have to give you.
right.
just
But
so-
hopefully, and estate sales.
Yeah.
But hopefully, the disclosures have given you some information that the seller does know about the house. All sellers are required in every state to fill out seller disclosures. Now, the disclosures change state to state, but they do give you information that the seller knows about the property. Now, if they've lived there 50 years and they put a roof on 17 years ago, they may not remember the date they put it on, but they may say, yeah, I did put a new roof on, maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. It gives you some information anyway, and that's another reason why you want to have inspections, because they may not remember everything. Or
Yeah.
maybe they bought the house 3 years ago and they don't know what happened 8 years ago.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Yeah, exactly. So the other thing that the seller's going to want to know is, when do you want to close?
Yeah, that's kind of a big item, because you're saying, I'll give you X number of dollars under these terms and conditions, which generally speaking will be your mortgage contingency and your inspection contingency, and the closing date. You got to have a closing date. I have yet to find any seller, and again back to my institutional kinds of things, that lets you put on or before for a closing date. In other words, you have to have a date certain. You can move it up or back, but your offer. I mean, this is the whole idea of an offer.
And again, all of the things we've just mentioned to this time period are negotiable. So the
Yeah.
seller can come back and say, that closing date doesn't work for me, you know, my kids don't get out of school till then, or I have, you know, I'm leaving my job at such and such a time, and the same thing with you. So all of the things we've just mentioned are negotiable, but some of the other things that you may want to talk about and add to your order.
I order one house.
I order
please.
one house. Are personal property. So
And we
you
talked
go
about
to,
what they are. They're fixed. Personal property is something permanently attached to the property, as opposed to personal.
no, that's a fixture.
Oh.
Personal property is something that belongs to the owner. Yeah. So the thing that comes to mind all the time for me is you buy a property that has a lot of grass, and there's a beautiful lawnmower in the shed, and the buyers always say, are they leaving the lawnmower? Well, if you want the lawnmower, put it in your offer.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll leave it. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll want to sell it to you on the side. That has nothing to do with us in real estate, but that's also a possibility. Washers and dryers. Sometimes the owners don't put it that they're leaving them. If you want the washer and dryer, it doesn't hurt to ask for it. The worst they can say is no.
Yeah.
Things like dishwashers, stoves, and even refrigerators, though sometimes those are negotiable, they do leave. They have to leave anything that's attached. If grandma made the light fixture, they've got to disclose to you if they're not leaving the light fixture, and they have to replace it with something.
Yeah, yeah. So that will be usually in the listing sheet if there's a fixture that will be substituted for. As a good practice, we generally will put the loose appliances, even dishwashers. I've written dishwashers into.
Yeah, we do anyway, but you just want to, when you're walking through the house, if suddenly there's something there that you think you could use, like a snow blower or a lawnmower or something that, you know, that could make a difference.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't going there. I was going to say something else.
Okay.
But anyway, but it's not a yard sale. So you're buying a house. You know, it would be just, you know, some big item that you might hope that you can get with the house. But typically the owners price the house for the house. They don't include the lawnmower or even the washer and dryer if they don't want to.
You're out to buy a house. Home
Yeah.
Depot you can go to if you want to buy,
Yeah.
you know, the appliances and all. I know we're sort of getting a little bit technical with the type of deed, but when you use a full sales agreement as a vehicle for your offer, that'll spell out you're asking the property to be conveyed by a certain type of deed. And when we're not attorneys, there is a warranty deed, which is considered the highest form of a deed, but there are also quitclaim deeds. And what you'll see is 9 times out of 10.
State deeds.
Estate deeds, yep.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10 will be a warranty deed. But that'll be spelled out, and that's back to the idea of a well thought out offer. Covers you on all of the points. You get that, or you don't buy the house.
So some of the other things, when do you take possession of the house? Well, if your offer gets accepted and you go through the whole process, you're going to take possession of the house on the day it closes. And the reason I bring this up in the offer stage is because I want you to be sure to know that in the purchase and sales agreement, it does say that the house has to be left broom swept, which means the seller does not need to wash the walls or even, you know, take their curtain rods down, really.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, they leave all the old curtains up sometimes. They are supposed to remove their personal property. And if there's something specific you want removed that you think might not be, it is not, you should talk to your agent and have them mention it. I've had people leave old paint thinking that, you know, oh, they'll want to match the paint, and the people are thinking, I'm painting this place as soon as I get done here.
Yeah.
You know, so if there's something that you saw there that you really want them to dispose of, you want to make sure you mention that to your agent.
This is a good example about this approach. The 20-minute briefing thing is to jump from point to point in the process. The idea is you will hear about what happens each step of the way, so it won't be a surprise. But we can spend like a couple of 20-minute briefings on the idea of taking possession, broom clean.
Yeah.
Do they take the curtains and leave the rods? That kind of stuff. But that's the whole idea, is that this is the same thing as if you were in the back seat of my car, and we'd be talking this kind of stuff on the way to the
Absolutely.
house and all.
So we're getting close to the end of our time, so we want to
we forgot to tell them about the real joy of making an offer. You get all psyched up, you see the house, you love it, you've done all of the tests, and you know that's the one you want to buy, and you write out the offer, you hand it to your agent, and then you don't sleep.
Well, that's true. You don't sleep.
It's a medical fact that you will wake up at 3 o'clock that morning. So I'm thinking, today I was thinking maybe the advice should be write your offer out at like 9 o'clock in the morning.
Well, it depends on when you see it. I showed a house today at 3, and I got the offer before I came here tonight. So
So they're probably watching because they're not sleeping.
they're not sleeping. But one of the things about that is about how long a seller has to answer
yeah,
your
good point.
offer. It depends. It really is not something that's carved in stone. Yeah, everybody has to be reasonable. If the seller's in a state of 4 or 5 people, they may be in 4 or 5 different states. They may have to talk about it. If you're getting anxious and concerned, contact your agent, not at 2 o'clock in the morning because she's sleeping or he's sleeping. But the next day, contact them and just say, can you check on where they're at and what they're doing?
But that is a very good point as to the confidence when you pick an agent, the confidence you have not only in their abilities and experience, but that you simply have confidence in them, because that whole negotiation rhythm changes
Absolutely,
depending on properties.
Yeah, it
So,
does.
and that's what you've worked for. That's what you've been taught.
So we're at the end of our 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And so another week has just flown by.
Oh, you know what we forgot?
What?
We forgot the title of next week's briefing.
We did forget to tell you
Holy
the title
smoke.
in next week's briefing. So we're going to have to tell you that on our commercial because I don't
Listen.
have the notes in front of me.
Why don't you guys, if whoever's there, I hope they're all out there, write us a note.
Yep.
What would you like to hear about next week's
Oh, that's a good idea.
20-minute briefing? Give us a topic. It can be almost anything except for why does Clark keep bobbing while he talks. But send us to the Coastal New England RE.
Or you can put it right on this page. This page will be on Facebook. You will be able to add comments to it even after the briefing is over. So put it on our comment section and we will.
We'll study. We'll do it.
We will.
We'll do it.
So we're really over time now, and I really want to keep it at 20 minutes because we don't want to bore people. So please go to the Coastal New England Real Estate page on Facebook, Coastal New England Real Estate Team. Like us, share us, see us on Twitter, Instagram, and especially on YouTube. Catch our old videos and subscribe to our channel.
That's a good idea.
All right. Hopefully you'll have a good night's sleep tonight. You haven't made an offer. And we'll see you next week.
So long.
Bye-bye.